pinch yourself and make sure we're live. Yeah.
Senate will please come to order. It is my pleasure to welcome for today's devotional exercise the Reverend Caitlin McCrae of Richmond Congregational Church. Reverend, kindly unmute. This is a regular occurrence here in the chamber. You're unmuted. Perhaps turn up the volume on your computer.
Can you hear me now?
Yes, thank you.
I had to switch microphones. Sorry about that. Good morning, Senators. I have a story to tell you this morning about a snow shovel. Yes, I bring you greetings from Richmond Congregational Church in the eastern edge of Chittenden County. So thank you for the invitation to be with you. The story I want to tell you this morning is about my daughter, Anna, who is 19 months old. And for the last week, whenever we go outside, she insists on going into the garage and getting her snow shovel so that she can take it out on a walk. She shovels the driveway, she shovels the street, both of which are paved and neither of which have had any snow for the past week. At first, it's really cute. She pushes the shovel and she pulls the shovel, she sets it down, she picks it back up, trying to stop and readjust it. If you've spent any time with toddlers, you know that they spend an awful lot of time getting things just right. It's really adorable until your desire to take a walk around the whole neighborhood with the dog is interrupted by her desire to only walk the 100 yards in front of your house, giving you not the exercise nor the dog that you needed. On Saturday, after the great stroller buckling battle, which is really the only way we can get around the neighborhood, she insisted on holding her shovel for the whole walk. She wouldn't let it go, even though she could no longer shovel the street. As adults, sometimes we cling fiercely to the tools and patterns and habits and ideologies we love, even when they no longer serve us, even when they are no longer the right tool for the job. We end up carrying the shovel when there's nothing to shovel, except our own pride, perhaps. Or like Sisyphus, sometimes we feel like we're pushing the rock up the hill again. But maybe it's stroller time, Senators. Springtime invites us to put away our winter tools and see what new possibilities are springing forth. And so, Senators, in this mud season, maple season, legislative season, I invite you to consider what tools you need to let go of and what new things you'd like to get a grip on so you can tackle many pieces of legislation in the coming weeks. What tools will help serve Vermonters living in poverty, without adequate housing, struggling with physical and mental health, the challenges of aging, prolonged COVID isolation, people trying to work and care for children? That's a tough one. What will help keep Vermont clean and green? What tools will sustain you so that you can work for those who have voted for you to be here? What tools will sustain you so that you can best serve others? Take a moment and consider that right now. It's mud season. It's spring. For those of you who might be Jewish, it's the Passover season. For those of you who might be Christian, we are in Holy Week and soon to be Easter. It is a new season, a time to do something new. So friends, may you have the courage to let go of the shovels that no longer serve you and be open to the tools and the things in your midst that might help you best serve others. May the Holy One be with you and guide you as you go about your work. Amen.
Thank you, Reverend. I'll kindly ask all senators to join me for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge of allegiance
Allegiance
to the flag
to the flag
of the United States of America
of America
to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God,
indivisible,
with liberty,
and justice for all.
Thank you. Are there any announcements this morning? The senator from Windham is recognized.
Thank you, Madam President. Point of personal privilege. I rise to make explicit that the entire Senate family is holding the senator from Washington in our hearts this morning. And as I thought this weekend about how to deal with grief and loss and hope, I wanted to share with all of you one of my favorite Mary Oliver poems that I think speaks to this connection that we all have. It's called The Wild Geese. You do not have to be good. You do not have to walk on your knees for 100 miles through the desert repenting. You only have to let the soft animal of your body love what it loves. Tell me your despair, yours, and I will tell you mine. Meanwhile, the world goes on. Meanwhile, the sun and the clear petals of the rain are moving across the landscapes, over the prairies and the deep trees, the mountains and the rivers. Meanwhile, the wild geese, high in the clean blue air, are heading home again. Whoever you are, no matter how lonely, the world offers itself to your imagination, calls to you like the wild geese, harsh and exciting, over and over, announcing your place in the family of things.
Thank you, Senator. Are there any additional announcements this morning? We have a resolution to take up. JRS 21 relating to weekend adjournment. Please listen to the reading of the resolution.
JRS 21, joint resolution relating to weekend adjournment. Resolved by the Senate and House of Representatives that when the two houses adjourn on Friday, April 2nd, 2021, it be to meet again no later than Tuesday, April 6th, 2021.
You've heard the reading of the resolution. The question is, shall the Senate adopt the resolution on its part? Are you ready for the question? So kindly unmute. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, nay. The ayes have it, and you've adopted the resolution. We have one Senate bill for introduction, S-132, an act relating to healthcare reform implementation introduced by Senator Lyons. Please listen to the first reading of the bill.
S-132, an act relating to healthcare reform implementation.
You've heard the first reading, and the bill is referred to the Committee on Health and Welfare. We have 5 House bills for reference. H-152, an act relating to education property tax, introduced in the House on January 28th, 2021. Please listen to the first reading of the bill.
H-152, an act relating to education property tax.
You've heard the first reading, and the bill is referred to the Committee on Education. H-153, an act relating to Medicaid reimbursement rates for home and community-based service providers, introduced in the House on January 29th, 2021. Please listen to the first reading of the bill.
H-153, an act relating to Medicaid reimbursement rates for home and community-based service providers.
You've heard the first reading, and the bill is referred to the Committee on Health and Welfare. H-159, an act relating to community and economic development and workforce revitalization, introduced on January 29th, 2021 in the House. Please listen to the first reading.
H-159, an act relating to community and economic development and workforce revitalization.
You've heard the first reading, and the bill is referred to the Committee on Economic Development, Housing, and General Affairs. H171, an act relating to the governance and financing of Vermont's child care system, introduced in the House on February 2nd, 2021. Please listen to the first reading of the bill.
H171, an act relating to the governance and financing of Vermont's child care system.
You've heard the first reading, and the bill is referred to the Committee on Health and Welfare. H183, an act relating to sexual violence, introduced on February 3rd, 2021. Please listen to the first reading.
And H183, an act relating to sexual violence.
You've heard the first reading, and the bill is referred to the Committee on Judiciary. And finally, H435, an act relating to miscellaneous Department of Corrections related amendments, introduced in the House on March 16, 2021. Please listen to the first reading.
H435, an act relating to miscellaneous Department of Corrections related amendments.
You've heard the first reading, and the bill is referred to the Committee on Institutions. This brings us to the orders of the day. We have on the calendar for continued action, S10, which was referred to the Committee on Economic Development, Housing, and General Affairs, which reports it has considered the bill via amended report, or substituted report, and recommended the bill be amended, and that when so amended, the bill ought to pass. Last Friday, we had a roll call request from the senator from Caledonia. And the senator from Wyndham was mid-remarks when the power went out. So I will restate the pending question, which is, shall the Senate amend the bill as recommended by the Committee on Economic Development, Housing, and General Affairs as substituted, and recognize the senator from Wyndham?
Thank you, Madam Chair. If you recall, just as I began my remarks, we lost power, and I know in the subsequent discussions that I had afterwards with my committee, perhaps it was an act of God saving us from ourselves, as we were all feeling quite tense at that point. So I just want to start by saying there has been a lot of sleep lost over this bill by my committee and perhaps some members of the Senate as well. Our goal throughout this process has been clear. It has been to offer relief to business while also offering relief to workers. And we have been single-minded in our commitment to these things. We wanted targeted relief to workers with kids and more mouths to feed struggling in this pandemic, and offering true relief to businesses. And as I started my remarks last Friday, one of the things I said is I think one of the reasons this has been such a difficult issue for so many senators is because at its core, this bill is about people. It's about the people in our communities. It's about the people who have been struggling through the pandemic. It's about the people that run those small businesses in our communities that we all care so much about. And we, as senators, try our level best every time when we show up to represent to the best of our abilities the needs of our constituents. And that has made all the more difficult for us at this time of a global pandemic. As legislators, we listen and we think hard and we turn over ideas for hours and hours. And a lot of the work that we do is actually not very glamorous. It's pretty ugly. It's a lot of hard discussions with our constituents and our colleagues, and trying to land somewhere that honors many, many voices. And we try to look at the issue from all sides and adjust our thinking and shift our proposals and come back to the table. And I will tell you, we have sought compromise and agreement at every step of the way. We have asked to take more testimony, and we did. We were asked to slow down the process, and we did. Several times, the committee was ready to come to the floor with the bill, and there were people within the Senate that wanted to continue talking about the details. So we did. I just want to remind us of how we got to this place. We have been asked repeatedly to change our thinking, to come to the table with new proposals, and we have done so again and again. As a committee, your committee on economic development and housing, we have been a microcosm of all the conversations that have been playing out in the Senate as a whole, within both caucuses, I believe, and also in the public at large. And this committee, your committee on economic development, has a lot of spit and fire in it. Okay, we have the majority leader, we have the minority leader, we have the pro tem, we have a pit bull of a chair, and we have an extremely committed new senator. And I mention this because we ourselves have not always agreed on the path that this bill should take. We have had to do the hard work within our committee to get to a place where we could agree on policy and strategy in regard to this bill. And we have done so because we care deeply about the issues that are at the heart of this bill. And we care deeply about the people that will be served by this bill if it is to pass this chamber. So in conversations with my committee members,
Senators are kindly asked to mute if not speaking. Thank you.
So as I talked to many members of my committee and senators within the chamber this weekend, it was clear that there were some confusing statements that were made in regard to the bill on Friday. And I think with the dynamic of being over Zoom, and I think with the inability for us to be in a room together, I think some of these things have developed a life of their own. So I feel like I must, Madam President, take a few minutes just to clarify what is actually in this amendment. Because a lot of what was spoken about on the floor on Friday was actually about the underlying bill and not about the amendment that we are being asked to weigh in on. So, it had been said that the $66 million in tax relief next year would have to be repaid by businesses over the next decade. But I just want to remind you that Section 8 is actually speaking directly to this issue. It is avoidance of long-term tax impact on employers. It has been said that the Department of Labor is not going to be able to meet the needs of this bill by setting up a system for this dependent benefit. And I just want to remind you, we're talking about $50 a weekly check to a pretty small size of the Vermont population. We're talking about somewhere between 3,000 and 6,000 people. I mention it because your Senate Economic Development Committee has worked repeatedly with the Department of Labor to implement a wide variety of benefits directed at helping Vermont businesses and Vermonters. So when the governor proposed a similar $100 a week benefit last summer for close to 40,000 beneficiaries, the Department of Labor was able to get that up and running in weeks. Okay, that's fact. They were able to do that for 40,000 beneficiaries. And then they stood up the PUA program in a timely fashion for tens of thousands of self-employed people who had been, I just want to remind you, totally outside the system up until that point. Again, under this proposal, we're talking about a pretty small number of people. And so I just want to say, in our testimony that we took from Department of Labor, repeated testimony, what became clear to us is that what needs to be done is a box needs to be added to the application certificate asking if there are any kids under 18 in that household, and then sending out those checks to them. I understand that people are concerned about what happened during the 1099, for lack of a better word, debacle that was caused by, I might add, human error, not a mainframe crash, okay? It was also said that this $50 will disincentivize work. This benefit is only going into effect after the federal benefits go away. Others have expressed concern about the health of the trust fund. I just want to remind you that the amendment is a much smaller ask on the trust fund than what was in the underlying bill and the proposal from the governor's office. We have sought compromise. We have sought an agreement among all members of the committee and the Senate as a whole. We hope that you will see that we have landed on a position that gives relief to workers and to businesses. Please, I urge you, come back to what drove you to office to begin with. Think about the people in your districts, both those businesses who will get no relief if we don't pass this bill. They will get no relief if this is voted down. And think about the modest benefit that we have given to the families in your district. Thank you, Madam President.
Thank you, Senator. Again, the question is, shall the Senate amend the bill as recommended by the Committee on Economic Development, Housing and General Affairs as substituted? The senator from Caledonia is recognized.
Thank you, Madam President. Madam President, I appreciate the passion from the junior senator from Windham. And I completely agree that we have a responsibility to the people that we represent as constituents. We also have one other thing that isn't yet part of the conversation, except from what I heard from my seatmate, and that is our fiduciary responsibility to protect the systems by which those very constituents are also the beneficiaries. And what disturbs me about this legislation, and I speak with respect to both the amendment as well as the underlying bill, is that the system has suffered. And in the long term, the system has to be protected. We are now in the midst of a conversation about both state employees' pensions and teachers' pensions that this conversation reminds me of through the years, where we have decided the immediate needs of the populace take priority over protection of the system. I can't go back and change the clock, but I can certainly learn from the experience, Madam President, that we make mistakes through the years in not protecting a system that protects those very same constituents. And I say this because my seatmate, being one of the most experienced legislators on the screen, is clearly telling us that there are federal dollars that may help us in the short term to protect those very same people, which this legislation seeks to do, without having an impact on the very trust fund that is necessary to protect the system. So while I may be in the minority of this vote, Madam President, I am planning to vote no on both the amendment and the underlying bill, not because I disagree with the philosophy that people need to be protected, but because I am comfortable that the federal dollars coming our way will enable us to protect them, while at the same time we don't jeopardize the very system that's meant to protect them, as well as the employers, in the years to come. So with respect, Madam President, I would urge that we vote against both the amendment and the underlying bill. Thank you, Madam President.
Thank you, Senator. The question is, shall the Senate amend the bill as recommended by the Committee on Economic Development, Housing and General Affairs as substituted? Are you ready for the question? The senator from Rutland is recognized.
Thank you, Madam President. May I interrogate the reporter of the underlying amendment?
You may.
Thank you, Madam President. I believe the reporter said on Friday, and forgive me if I don't remember all the testimony as it got fairly long, that the $50 a week benefit will sunset in 5 years. Is that correct, Madam President?
Correct, Madam President.
So, in a way, this winds up being sort of a continuing obligation that could extend beyond the pandemic. Why would we not tie the sunset of that benefit to the lifting of the declaration of emergency?
Thank you, Madam President. We try to achieve a balance in this bill, and quite candidly, we removed a 20% increase in everybody's benefits during the negotiations, as many businesses favored the dependency benefit over that 20% increase.
I thank the reporter. Over the weekend, Madam President, I continued to be contacted by businesses in my district asking me to oppose the bill and the amendment, and I will be voting no on this. Thank you.
Thank you, Senator. The question is, shall the Senate amend the bill as recommended by the Committee on Economic Development, Housing, and General Affairs as substituted? Are you ready for the question? And again, just as the senator from Orange is recognized.
Madam President, the devotions this morning sought to counsel us on how to use our shovels. The recent speaker before the Senate here a few moments ago talked about our need to protect the system at the expense of its citizens. Madam President, the policy in the United States of America for the last 40 years has been to use the shovel to shovel money from those that have little to those that have plenty. That is the system and what it has been for the last 40 years. A break and a departure from that system was conducted a month or so ago with the passage of the bill from Congress, which says we will not, in this bill, in this relief bill, shovel more money from people that don't have it to the people who have more than enough. That is a change in the system. I am prepared to protect that system. I am surprised that Vermont, which has fared well, particularly among small businesses during the CARES Act, would take an action to protect the old 40-year system. And when we look at the system of who pays, who sits at home with low unemployment payments compared to the rest of Vermonters and the rest of Americans, it is women. That has been the system for the last 40 years. I am surprised that we or our constituents wish us to perpetuate that system at their expense. Thank you.
Thank you, Senator. The senator from Caledonia is recognized.
Thank you, Madam President. Last Friday, I will have to confess that I was quite frustrated listening to some arguments that tried to associate this question with a gender issue. This is not a gender issue, Madam President. While I recognize the vast majority of people who are sitting home right now unemployed are women, I also know that there's another system that has, without question, a vast majority of women who are associated with it, and that is the career of a teacher. we have let those folks down because we have concentrated our efforts on the short term to try to help people, which is perfectly understandable. But we've allowed ourselves to let that system collapse. In this case, Madam President, there is in fact a substantial number of dollars coming our way through the federal government to protect those very same workers we are now talking about in this system, which is why I believe my seatmate has been quite eloquent in describing to us there is no need to attack the trust fund that supports this system in this method, because that does in the long term jeopardize the situations for those very same women that we are talking about here. I don't want to have this become an argument about gender. That's just not correct. This is in fact an argument about our fiduciary responsibility to protect the system that protects those very same people, knowing that we have, in the short term, a large chunk of money coming to us from the federal government that can assist those very same workers for the very same reasons that the proponents of this bill are arguing now. Thank you, Madam President.
The senator from Chittenden, Senator Chittenden, is recognized.
Madam President, may I interrogate the reporter of the underlying amendment?
You may.
Did the committee investigate how other states have explored direct assistance to the dependents, which that term really meaning kids, rather than through the guardians of said dependents? Are there ways to ensure that they have access to healthy meals through community programs? Or did the committee at all look at why the other 27 or 37 states, the non-13 that don't have a benefit, how else they serve and meet the needs of our kids that are that have guardians that are on unemployment? How much exploration and testimony was taken on some of the rationales considered by other states that do not have this dependent benefit?
Thank you for that question, Madam President. The committee did take testimony and discovered that 13 other states, including 3 in New England, have a dependency benefit. Most of them are more generous than the ones we're projecting here. It's narrower in the sense that it only deals with children under 18 and not children in the home up to 24 or dependent parents. We tried to keep it simple and straightforward. The issue of whether or not these folks need this help compared to other sources of revenue is, I think, self-evident. When you go out on unemployment benefits, your wage replacement is 57% of what you otherwise were making. And in many cases, it's less than 57%. So people wake up one morning when they're laid off of their job through no fault of their own, and they have half the income they had before. They could have very easily had the same benefits you may be referring to, but this is a program that is designed to specifically to target people who have lost their jobs through no fault of their own, to get them some wage replacement and sustain the economy going forward so they can spend those dollars because they are in a low income situation at that point. And they can buy the goods, they can purchase the services and keep our economy going.
Thank you, Madam President.
The question is, shall the Senate amend the bill as recommended by the Committee on Economic Development, Housing, and General Affairs as substituted? The senator from Windham is recognized. Or excuse me, the senator from Chittenden is recognized. Senator Rahm, excuse me.
Thank you, Madam President. With respect to the junior member from Caledonia, I would like to say I was actually just standing on a street with our teachers and nurses this morning at Champlain Valley Union High School. And one of the first things that they asked me was how this debate is going on the unemployment bill. Because for them, predominantly women, a strong safety net that takes care of our families is important at all levels. and is important for all of them. And I personally believe, though I don't want to speak for them, that they would be really disappointed to hear us pitting those who have employment and are fighting to maintain the benefits and the supports that they have been promised against those who have fallen on hard times, and particularly those who are trying to take care of their children. The member from Rutland County also asked, why not sunset the dependent benefit with the lifting of the emergency order? Well, you know, I personally don't yet have children, but as far as I can tell, you don't stop having your kids in your life when the emergency order is listed. They still have needs. They might be, you know, having more needs as more schools open up full time. If the emergency order is lifted, people are going to be having to engage in the work search. That might mean a car repair and getting their kids back to childcare and getting new professional clothes and a lot of other new expenses when the emergency order is lifted. And they do try and search for that job that's going to help them live a sustainable and supported life. And they're probably going to have more expenses as they look for that job. And so this is, you know, this is a way after the federal benefit to keep them from slipping into poverty, because their kids are still going to be there and their kids are still going to have needs. And our families still need our help when we start to go on with our lives. We're also desperate to return to normalcy. But for some families, this has been too deep of a tear in the safety net. And they need a little bit of support and attention from their elected officials to make sure that they don't fall into deep and irreparable poverty for a generation. So that's why we're asking for your support for a bill that frankly also recognizes that our businesses are over-leveraged, and having that study of further exclusion from the overall trust fund calculation of years that were catastrophic helps our over-leveraged businesses as well. This is as close as we can get to a win-win for a generational recession that is causing deep pain to our businesses and our families. Thank you.
Thank you, Senator. The senator from Windham is recognized.
Thank you, Madam President. Madam President, I am concerned that something very important is being lost in this debate, and we're about to vote. So I feel I must speak to make something explicit. The committee has heard from many of our colleagues. Senators want to know if this bill would negatively impact businesses. What we want senators to understand at this point, after all the changes that we've made to this amendment, is that if this bill fails, there will be no tax reductions for employers next year. If we do not give this relief to businesses, they will jump from the lowest rate schedule to the highest rate schedule. Our amendment freezes it at the lowest level and saves employers approximately $66 million next year. Section 8 guarantees that it won't be recaptured. If we don't pass the bill, businesses will get hit hard and pretty immediately. Thank you, Madam President.
Thank you, Senator. The question is, and I see there is a hand raised, the senator from Essex Orleans is recognized. Senator, kindly, there we go. Thank you.
Madam President, joining the Senate is like moving to another community. It takes a while to figure out the landscape. And I've been fortunate enough to meet a lot of other people in this who are senators who think different than I do, but I respect their opinions very much so nonetheless. And there seems to be no shortage of them. S10 is trying to fix a problem that we just don't seem to have the problem that is being outlined here. We have the worst times ever that anybody in this chamber could ever remember, and yet our trust fund sets at 40% of value. I've heard about how voting against this bill may be racist. I've heard about how voting against this bill is disparaging women. I've heard about some parts of this bill that 13 other states have provisions in there, which means that there's 37 other states that don't. I've heard that one senator heard heard employers disparaging their employees. I've heard that the senators believe that S10 needs to be passed now, and others believe that there's no hurry. What I haven't heard is any business stand up and tell me that they need protections. And what I haven't seen is that people who are unemployed have not received them benefits in a timely fashion. I don't have an opinion about whether this bill is the right bill or a wrong bill. I just think that this bill is not needed at this time. And as the senior senator from Chittenden, from Caledonia so eloquently said, we have time to fix this. We have monies available. Let's get through the pandemic, and then we'll see where it ends up there. Thank you, Madam President.
The senator from Chittenden is recognized. Senator Sirotkin.
Thank you, Madam President. I was going to honor protocol and cease debate with the speech from the pro tem, but given that many other people have spoken, I feel I need to emphasize one important misconception, and that goes directly to the last speaker. From a business perspective, I don't think we have time to wait on this. The administration came forward with a plan saying there was urgency to giving $66 million in relief starting July 1st for businesses. It is frustrating to hear some businesses think that this bill will increase their taxes when it exactly does the exact opposite. Let me just give you two brief examples and then I'll sit down. The administration came in several months ago with a business, a very large business. I think it had a $6 million payroll. And they said to us, if you don't pass this tax relief, that business will have a $115,000 increase in their unemployment tax bill. And I got a very nice letter from a large business in Colchester that wrote me and said, why are you raising our taxes? And I took the time to speak to the CFO of that business. They have 110 employees, and together we worked through the chart that the pro tem was talking about, and their tax bill will go up $42,000 on July 1st if we don't pass this bill. So there's some misunderstanding out there, and it's very unfortunate. I say to you again, what we are trying to do with this substitute amendment, and we negotiated this out even further, is to come up with an appropriate balance for both a business and workers where we can have a win-win situation. If this goes down, we're going to have a lose-lose situation. Thank you, Mr. President. Madam President.
The senator from Caledonia has requested a roll call vote. Again, the question is, shall the Senate amend the bill as recommended by the Committee on Economic Development, Housing, and General Affairs as substituted? Are you ready for the question? The senator from Franklin is recognized.
Thank you, Madam President. I agree with the comments of the senator from Chittenden regarding some unfavorable results that may accrue to business taxation in the short run by virtue of not passing this bill. But what's interesting is even after this amendment was proposed and discussed, most of the major business organizations and their members throughout Vermont have indicated their continued opposition to this bill. This includes the National Federation of Independent Businesses, Associated Industries of Vermont, the contractors of Vermont, Vermont retail grocers, among others. And they do so, at least have indicated to me that they do so, not because of the deferred taxation and contributions that would occur, but because of the long-range nature of the additional benefit that was added and the failure in this bill of addressing the huge amount of a potential short-term increase to be responded to by paying back money that these employers believe that they are simply overpaying in the short run with no guaranteed or no actual benefit resulting from that activity. There is general opposition that we see, with a few exceptions, by and large from the business community because of those reasons. We believe, those of us who have looked at this in some detail, believe that adding benefit to people in the midst of a pandemic, such as those women who are affected, that's an appropriate thing to do. But this doesn't just do that. What it does, it creates a permanent long-term benefit that has not been well thought out. Thank you, Madam President.
The question is, shall the Senate amend the bill as recommended by the Committee on Economic Development, Housing, and General Affairs as substituted? Are you ready for the question? And if so, kindly unmute. Again, the senator from Caledonia has requested a roll call vote. The secretary is kindly asked to call the roll.
Senator Ballant.
Yes.
Senator Baruch.
Yes.
Senator Benning.
No.
Senator Bray.
Yes.
Senator Brock.
No.
Senator Campion.
Yes.
Senator Chittenden.
Nay.
That was nay.
Was that a nay?
Nay.
Senator Clarkson.
Yes.
Senator Collimore.
No.
Senator Cummings.
Yes.
Senator Hardy.
Yes.
Senator Hooker.
Yes.
Senator Ingalls.
No.
Senator Kitchell.
No.
Senator Lyons.
Yes.
Senator McDonald.
Yes.
Senator Mazza.
No.
Senator McCormick.
Yes.
Senator Nitka.
Yes.
Senator Parent.
No.
Senator Pearson.
Yes.
Senator Perschlick.
Yes.
Senator Polina.
Yes.
Senator Rahm.
Yes.
Senator Sears.
No.
Senator Sirotkin.
Yes.
Senator Starr.
No.
Senator Terenzini.
No.
Senator Westman.
No.
Senator White.
Yes.
Please listen to the results of your vote. The yeas 18, the nays 12, and you've amended the bill as recommended by the Committee on Economic Development, Housing, and General Affairs as substituted. The question now is, shall the bill be read a third time? Are you ready for the question? If so, please unmute. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, nay.
No.
The ayes appear to have it. The ayes do have it, and you've ordered third reading of S10. We have on the calendar for third reading S79. Third reading was ordered on March 26th, 2021. Are there any amendments before third reading on S79? Please listen to the third reading of the bill.
S79, an act relating to improving rental housing, health, and safety.
The question is, shall the bill pass? Are you ready for the question? So kindly unmute. The senator from Windsor is recognized.
Thank you, Madam President. I will be voting for this bill. I think it's an important bill in protection of tenants. I do want to just take this moment to say that at some point, we really need to take a look at the interest of landlords more carefully. I have many years been a champion of tenants. My view is that a rental property is the landlord's investment, but the tenant's home, and that home prevails over investment. However, I think we have reached a point where being a landlord landlords are subjected to some very unfair imbalances, and I hope that in the future we will be taking a look at it. That's not specifically germane to this bill, but except that it does deal with rentals. Thank you, Madam President.
Thank you, Senator. The question is, shall the bill pass? Are you ready for the question? Kindly unmute. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, nay.
No.
Ayes appear to have it. The ayes do have it, and you've passed S79. We have on the calendar for third reading, S101. Third reading was ordered on March 26, 2021. Are there any amendments before third reading? Please listen to the third reading of the bill.
S101, an act relating to promoting housing choice and opportunity in smart growth areas.
The question is, shall the bill pass? Are you ready for the question? So kindly unmute. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye. Aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, nay. The ayes have it, and you've passed S101. This completes the orders of the day. The senator from Windham is recognized.
Thank you, Madam President. Pending announcements, I move that the Senate stand in adjournment until Wednesday, April 1st at 1 p.m.
March 31st.
Is it March 31st? My apologies. March 31st at 1 p.m.
The senator for Windham has moved that subject to any announcements, the Senate do adjourn until Wednesday, March 31st, 2021 at 1 p.m. Are there any announcements? And I see the senior senator from Chittenden has her hand raised. Senior senator is recognized.
Thank you, Madam President. Health and Welfare will meet at 10:45.
Thank you. The senator from Addison is recognized.
Thank you, Madam President. I rise on a point of personal privilege. Last week, as we prepared to take up S10, the unemployment insurance bill just passed, I participated, as I said, many of you did, in a whirlwind of meetings, emails, phone calls, text conversations, and more. And one of the meetings I participated in was with a group of contractors. This past Friday, when I spoke on the floor, amongst other remarks, I stated my regret that I was hearing in some quarters disparaging remarks about those drawing unemployment. When I spoke on this point, I was imprecise, and I created for some the impression that I was hearing such disparagement from members of the contractor community. I had in fact heard no such thing, and I wish to apologize for my colleagues for not being sufficiently precise in my remarks. And I further wish to apologize to any members of the contractor community who understandably felt unfairly characterized. I'm deeply committed to being a helpful member of the Senate, and I will work harder to avoid any such future lapses. Thank you, Madam President.
Thank you, Senator. The senator from Essex Orleans is recognized.
Yes, Senate Ag will meet at 10:40, 20 of 11.
The senator from Chittenden, Senator Sirotkin, is recognized.
Thank you, Madam President. Economic Development will meet at 10:50. We have a witness at 11. Thank you.
Thank you. The senator from Bennington, Senator Campion, is recognized.
Thank you, Madam President. Senate Education will meet at 1:30.
Thank you. The senator from Bennington, Senator Sears, is recognized.
Thank you, Madam President. Senate Judiciary will meet at 20 minutes of 11.
The senator from Washington is recognized.
Thank you, Madam President. Senate Finance will meet at 1:30.
Thank you, Senator. The senator from Windham is recognized.
Thank you, Madam President. Senate Government Operations will meet at 1:30.
And the senator from Grand Isle is recognized.
Madam President, Transportation will meet at 11 a.m.
Thank you, Senator. Are there any further announcements? The senator from Caledonia, Senator Benning, is recognized.
Thank you, Madam President. Institutions will meet at 1:30.
Thank you, Senator. The senator from Addison is recognized.
Thank you, Madam President. Senate Natural Resources and Energy will meet at 10:45 briefly. Thank you.
Are there any further announcements? The senator from Windham is recognized.
Thank you, Madam President. Just a reminder to the Senate Rules Committee, we'll be having a meeting immediately following our floor time. So please stay on this Zoom channel. And of course, for any senators that wish to watch, you can either watch on the live. You can also join us for that meeting, though the only people who will be speaking will be Senate Rules Committee members and the chair of Health and Welfare and the chair of GovOps that have worked before the committee this morning. So again, please stay on when we adjourn. Thank you.
Thank you, Senator. I will also add for those listening that the live feed will continue after we adjourn into the Senate Rules meeting. The senator from Windsor is recognized.
Thank you, Madam President. There will be no Senate Democratic Caucus today. Thank you.
Thank you, Senator. Are there any additional announcements? Seeing none, hearing none, the senator from Windham has moved that the Senate adjourn until Wednesday, March 31st at 1 p.m. Are you ready for the question? So kindly unmute. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye. Aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, nay. The ayes have it, and the Senate stands adjourned until Wednesday, March 31st at 1 p.m.
It's on currently up here. Yep.
Okay, Vanessa, do you mind changing my tag so that it says Senator Ballant? Senators, can you hear me?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, wonderful. So thank you so much. It is now, we're all set. Thank you so much. We are going to go into a meeting of the Senate Rules Committee. For those of you who may be following along at home, the Senate Rules Committee is made up of members of the Senate that weighs in on issues of protocol and procedure as it relates to the Senate. Today, we're going to be talking about two constitutional amendments that passed in the Senate last year. And in keeping with the law as in regards to constitutional amendments, it has to come before another legislative session in order to move to its third stage of passage, which would be going out to the public to weigh in. The question before us today will simply be about, should the Senate Rules Committee release these amendments to then be posted on our action calendar? And at this time, I'm going to turn over the microphone to Secretary Bloomer, who can take us through all the parts of this procedure that we need to know before we hear from each of the chairs of the committees of jurisdiction for these amendments. Thank you, Secretary Bloomer.
Good morning, everyone. I'm assuming I'm sitting a little different. I'm assuming you can all hear me fine.
Yes.
Yes.
Generally, the Constitution can be amended. There's provisions in the Vermont Constitution which permit it to be amended. That's in Section 72 of the Constitution. It's a two-stage or two-session two biennial sessions, not 2 different years, but 2 biennial sessions process. And what would be considered sort of the second reading occurs on a sort of a 4-year cycle. And last biennium, there were 2 constitutional amendments that were passed by both the past Senate and the past House, and that would be sort of construed as a second reading. For those of you who were around then, you know that amendments can be made at second reading. When you have a constitutional amendment, the second time it comes up is the next biennial session, and that is what's considered a third reading, but there are no amendments. So just like the second reading, the Senate can amend it, the House is not permitted to by the Constitution. When it comes up to a third reading, neither the Senate nor the House may amend it. I tell you it's a third reading because unlike the standard bills that you're used to, when either one of these PR or Proposal 2 or Proposal 3 hit the floor, there will only be one vote. It's not going to be a series of different days. You will have a vote. It needs to be by roll call, and the roll is called even if one of the senators or a senator does not request it. It's called by both the Constitution and by Senate Rule. Rule 83. Now, the vote totals vary a little. There are 4 different votes for a constitutional amendment to make it through the legislature. In the first year, which we've already experienced, it takes 2/3 of the members of the Senate. That's not 2/3 of a quorum, that's 2/3 of the members, and so it takes 20 votes. In the House, it takes a majority of the members that first year. When we're coming back to the second session, the second biennial, the voting is different again, and there are 2 different votes. In the Senate, it must pass by a majority of the members, which requires 16 votes. So for explicitness, if there's only 16 present, all 16 have to go and vote yes to move it on. If there are 30 present, it still takes 16. In the House, it's a majority of the members present, which is a little bit different. In the past, there's sometimes been a different interpretation of all those rules, but I think the set upon voting opinion is that those are the 4 different votes that need to be accomplished. The first year of a biennium, as you know, last term, Proposal 2 passed and Proposal 5 passed. The Senate rules set up a procedure for how both the second reading goes and how the third reading goes, which would be this particular year. The current rule that you're looking at would be Senate Rule 83, which explains how the proposal moves forward. In the past, just as a background, there was an ability for either the Judiciary Committee or the Rules Committee to move it forward. That was amended a couple of years ago. And so the Senate Rules Committee, during the first year of the new biennium, is supposed to sort of call that question forward. And that's why it's in the Rules Committee currently, and why that you're all meeting to sort of decide whether you want to call it forward at this point. The Rules Committee would then say that the amendment should be placed on the calendar. Rule 83 requires that it be taken up, or that it not be taken up without a rule suspension before the 7th legislative day. So what that means is that after you've decided, if you decide to vote either or both out today, tomorrow they would go on notice for the first day. They would stay on notice for 6 days, and on the 7th day they could come up for a vote. It's really depending on what you all decide to do. But that's the soonest you can have it come up without a rule suspension. In the past, the last 2, some of you were around for I think it was 2009 or 2010 was the last constitutional amendment to make it through. The one before that was 2002 or 3. And so those 2 had special orders. You do not have to do a special order, but if it comes up on the 7th day, the chamber can decide whether they want to set it for a different or a special order at some date and or time. So in that sense, it takes a roll call of 16 to have it pass the Senate. If you move either or both of them forward, they go to the House, and then the House does their vote and eventually lets the Senate know what's done. There are some additional procedures afterward as to when there's a public vote, how that's put together. There needs to be a resolution sort of passed laying that out. But for purposes of today's meeting or this year, what you're looking at are 2 constitutional proposals of amendment. Proposal of amendment 2, which was title is the subject, the Declaration of Rights, clarifying the prohibition on slavery and indentured servitude, and Proposal 5, which was the Declaration of Rights, right to personal reproductive liberty. I sent by email to the senators on the Rules Committee copies of those PDF yesterday. They are on the website and online, but I wanted to make sure you had a copy of the PDFs for any questions. There is sometimes a question as to whether or not any sort of further hearings required. If you look at the Senate rules, even the first year, they're not mandatory. There's a difference between the House rules and the Senate rules. The Senate rules say that the committee, it's Rule 81, which says such hearings may be held upon a proposal of amendment as are deemed necessary by the committee of reference. Now, one could argue that that deals with committee of reference would be the first time it's introduced in the second reading, but so there's not a mandatory requirement that there be full-blown hearings. That's really for the Rules Committee to decide what they may see sufficient. There's nothing that keeps them from doing further hearings, but there is nothing in the rules that require you to do more than meet today and vote to move them forward if you see fit. So I, as all of you know, I can talk quite a bit and talk quite long, but I will cease there and answer any questions you have, and hopefully that's provided at least enough background to start.
So one thing that I would say, senators, before I open it up for questions and comments, the one thing that has been guiding me in understanding the role that we play in relationship to this vote is that essentially what we are doing in the chamber is a third reading. And that is why it doesn't, essentially it doesn't require such a majority as it did in the first session. So that is also the reason why we felt the first step was just to bring up the question within Senate rules, because it's really acting as a third reading. And I've invited the chairs of both the committees of jurisdiction to comment if and when we feel like we need to hear from them. But at this time, I would ask if there are questions related to protocol and procedure at this point. Seeing none, I wonder if it would be helpful to the Senate Rules Committee to hear from Senator White on Prop 5 for a few minutes, and then, sorry, Prop 2. Senator White would be commenting on Prop 2. Senator Lyons would be commenting on Prop 5. My apologies. Senator White?
Sure, thanks. Yeah, you did not want me commenting on Prop 5.
Yes, exactly. That would be a very difficult thing for me to ask you to do this early in the week. Yes.
Thank you. Thank you. So I would ask that you vote this out today and put it on the calendar so that it can be on notice. It's we took, as you know, last year, tons and tons and tons of testimony on it, and it passed the Senate, I believe, by a vote of 29-1, I think was the vote. And the vote against it wasn't because there was a disagreement about it, but the person felt that the Constitution didn't need to be changed at all, but it was just fine the way it was. So I would ask that you put this on the calendar so that we can get it over to the House and they can take it up this year. I think that next year, I know their committees have a lot that they're going to be dealing with redistricting. And I don't know if they'll take it up right away this year or not, but it has to go on the ballot on the general election in 2022. So it has to be passed by us before that so that it can, and there's requirements for the governor to do some notices, the public notices around it being offered in the election of 2022. So I would ask that you vote it out and put it on the calendar tomorrow for notice. Thank you. If you have any questions, you can ask me.
Thank you, Senator White. Any questions for the senator? Thank you. At this point, I would ask Senator Lyons to give us a few remarks on Prop 5. And Senator Lyons, you are muted.
Thank you, and thank you to the Rules Committee for taking this up. I think it's critically important. I did prepare some comments, but I'll shorten those, and I will put them in the same mode as Senator White's regarding Prop 2. Last year, our committee took extensive testimony on Proposition 5. We modified the language to adhere to requests from our Senate colleagues. We presented the proposition on the floor of the Senate, and it was voted on 28-2 in support of forwarding the proposition to the House. So, and I could share the reasons for the 2 no votes, because those folks did talk with me about their own personal religious convictions. So this, when Prop 5 is passed this time, it would go to the House. Again, it's only a majority vote, as Secretary Bloomer has indicated. Only, it's significant. When it goes to the House, it will also be a majority vote. And then the governor has the responsibility of forwarding it to the voters for a vote in November of 2022, should it survive the entire process. This proposition will place Vermont in the same place it is now with respect to reproductive liberty and abortion rights. We have heard much about the challenges that are going on in other states, and at the Supreme Court, our state has worked very effectively under the Roe v. Wade decision, and this proposition will hold that in place for the state of Vermont with this umbrella of reproductive liberty. So I would just simply ask the Rules Committee, please, to forward the proposal to the entire Senate, where we can then vote on it. And I'm happy to answer questions.
Thank you, Senator Lyons. Any questions for the senator? Any comments that anyone on the Rules Committee would like to make at this point? Seeing none, I would entertain a motion to move, let's do it to both propositions at a time. So I would entertain a moment to move Proposition 2 out of the Rules Committee and to be posted on the calendar. I see Senator Mazza has so moved. Do I need a second, Senator? No, I just called you Senator, Secretary Bloomer. Senator Clarkson, do you have a question, Senator Clarkson?
I was going to second it.
We do not need a second. Thank you so much. So I will call the roll. Senator Mazza?
Yes.
Senator Clarkson?
Yes.
Senator Brock?
Yes.
Senator Hooker?
Yes.
Senator Ballant is also yes. That is a 6-0 vote, 5-0 vote. You can tell I had an early meeting and did not get my second cup of coffee. My apologies. And now at this time, I would entertain a motion to move Proposition 5 out of the Rules Committee to be posted on the calendar. Senator Clarkson?
So moved.
Thank you. Any other questions or comments before I call the roll? Senator Mazza?
Yes.
Senator Clarkson?
Yes.
Senator Brock?
Yes.
Senator Hooker?
Yes.
Senator Ballant? The vote is 5-0 to move Proposition 5 out of the Rules Committee. And I just want to take this time to thank the chairs of both these committees of jurisdiction. I know it was an incredible amount of work that you both needed to go through last session with your committees. We all appreciate the hard work and the diligence that you brought to the task. So I have no other business on our agenda, so I move to adjourn this meeting of the Senate Rules Committee.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.